Business School.
Without further ado, let's give a huge round of applause to Miss Veronica.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. Oh, aduh banyak banget yang mau dipegang ya. Ini nggak ada yang ketek-ketek ya? Nyetek, apa nyetek sendiri? So many things in my hands. Okay, so everybody happy? Everybody comfortable? Yeah? Okay. So I definitely cannot recite like that guy. I think that guy's a genius, isn't it? I don't know how he did it. It's like he's really memorizing those, or he's really, reading it from a prompter or something. I don't know, but he's a genius. I'm not like that, so you're gonna bear with me. So, okay, the topic of today is catalyst for change, or for change. I guess when you talk about change, you need to first know what do you want to change, right? So who do you want to change, and how it is to actually, sorry. I don't know how to make it work. Somebody have to do it. Yeah, sorry for that. I guess when you want to create change, you need to know who you want to change, what to change, right? And how to break the status quo. Yeah. Udah dipencet tadi. Okay. So there's a movement of people. I got this link from a friend sitting over there. Drivers of change. I think that's something amazing. It's a movement created by this group of people. They have drivers of change in Korea, in Japan, and everywhere in the world. And what they did is actually they're thinking about the lever to create that change, right? If you want to create change, you need to know what is to ask. So asking the right question is the lever of change. So just some samples of we want to create change in poverty, for example. They say the kind of questions you want to ask yourself to this community of people is like, these people will be asking, today, to whom can I, start borrowing money? If that's the kind of community that you're dealing with, then you know that they have a problem with money. And questions like, what is it that I can sell today that make a difference? That I can actually, make things end? Or questions like, how do I feed my family today? Do I have enough water or toilet, to at home? Now, in Indonesia, it's easy. The idea of this talk is to give you an idea of what you can do, right, to create that change, if you want to create change. In Indonesia, you talk about malnutrition. There's a lot of subject extending from malnutrition to poverty to education and all. Global rate, you can see 1 in 25 kids under 5 is having this problem, malnourished. But Indonesia is 1 in 4, which is, 4 times worse. When you talk about education, the whole world, UNESCO, is 115 million dropouts per year. In Indonesia, for every 4 kids who graduated from SD, from primary school, only 1 can actually go to college. Not even university. Sometimes it's not even S1, not even undergrad. It's just diploma or vocational. So every 4, only 1 can go. For every graduates of high school, only half seats are actually available. So the chance of going into higher education is almost really difficult. So if you are here, all my children studied in SPH, 2 have graduated and now in UC Berkeley, that is a blessing. That is something that you should be grateful about, because a lot of kids, I speak here 20 minutes, there will be 80 kids drop out of school. Every minute, 4 to 5 kids drop out of school. So if you're still in school, that's something to be grateful about. And we're talking about access to water. Yeah, only half the population can access water. And I think this is my favorite part. It's a terrible, terrible problem, but only 1%, can you imagine that? Only 1% of all Indonesians have access to pipe sewage services. Isn't that staggering to see that only 1% of us could actually have? If you have toilet with pipes, then you are on the top of the pyramid, you're in the 1%. 99% do not have that. And we talk about child bride. Half of registered marriages in Indonesia with brides under 19 years old. I already mentioned that every 5 minutes. That's actually wrong. Every 1 minute, 5 kids drop out. Somebody have to fix that slide. And we're talking about what is environment. 2 million kilometers of forest destroyed every day. That is equals to 40 football fields. Now, those who are calling in education, do something in education, right? Those who are calling in poverty, help the poor. You want to talk about environment, save the forest? Let's do that. It's not just desire to change, but you gotta think about asking the right question, how to change it, and who, where do you want to work, your change. YCAB was born in 1999. That was, 17 years ago. The premise of our organization is book. It looks like, some say like bird, but it's not, it's book. So that's the foundation of what we do. We believe in education. And if you invest it wholeheartedly, and it will turn into a prosperous home, which is rumah yang sejahtera. I don't know the proper English for that. It's a better welfare households. That's what we believe. That's our premise. And Yayasan Cinta Anak Bangsa is called now YCAB as a brand name because we opened YCAB all over the, few other countries outside of Indonesia. So YCAB became a brand. But YCAB is the Yayasan. Yayasan is foundation. Cinta is the word for love. And because of love, for me, the thesis is very simple. God loved me, I love the world. And what is your thesis? What is your mission in life? That's a question that you have to answer. So creating change is not just asking the right question to the community that you want to change, but ask yourself the right question. What is my mission of life? So YCAB's mission is to love, of course, cinta, right? You love someone, you do your best. You want to love and you want to enable underprivileged youth through hope and opportunity. Mother Teresa says this, is that there's no greater or the worst kind of poverty than those who, do not have water or sanitation or money or shelter or clothing than, compared to those who do not have opportunity in life. I've seen young people, bright, smart, fighting spirit, but have no money to go to school. They're not given the opportunity to go to school. But when they actually did, they rose up to the leadership. They rose up as a star. But because that little thing called opportunity is given to them. So YCAB, when we began YCAB in 1999, the premise is clear, is education. We are in agreement with Nelson Mandela. He said that education is the most powerful weapon in which you can use to change the world. See, there you have that word again, to change the world. Because we don't believe in creating, for example, one of our program is economic empowerment. Okay, number one we do is promoting healthy lifestyle. That's very important. You need to be healthy to be productive. Number two, we're giving youth, underprivileged, and dropouts opportunity to go to school. That's through Rumah Belajar. And then the last part, because we are working with the people at the bottom of the pyramid, then we're thinking, slow retention, where's my students? This Rumah Belajar is like $1 a month kind of education, but why do people still come and go? They're not committed. What's the problem? See? That's another question. So what's the problem? Why are they not coming to school? We're giving this opportunity. It's affordable, but why are they not here? The problem is these folks, these young people, working in the streets or in the market to help their family income. So what is I don't have my premise of change, but that's how you do it. We started with the microfinance, to help the mothers to stabilize the income of the family so that they can support their kids to school. So that's our thesis of change. We're using the microfinance, the microloan or microcapital so that they can enable their children to school. Again, for us, education is the catalyst for change. It's not the microfinance per se. It never is the business, but it's using microfinance as the means to an end. The end is education for all, because education is the only thing that we believe to break that poverty cycle. So Mother Teresa, again, quoted the second time, said that no one can do great things, but all of us can do small things with great love. So hence, Cinta, Anak, Bangsa, YCAB, is appropriate. Our names comes together with love and intention to create a certain change and do it well, and it will create a great love. So I want to leave you behind with a few thinking, with the story of this guy called Moontaka. At the end of the day, when you want to create a change, you don't just do an activity. It is not activity. You are investing in the life of one person. Moontaka was a scavenger, a mulung. What he does, he collects trash. And then he found our rumah belajar, which is a rumah mekanik for mechanical motorcycle, which is montir, in one of between his where he lives and where he works. So he found our rumah belajar and he decided to join. I remember he came the first class, the first day I was there, because that was also the press conference, I guess, with the sponsor, HSBC, sponsored that rumah belajar. And Moontaka came with his bag on his shoulder like Santa Claus, you know, but that's trash. And then he put his trash on the outside of the classroom, and he did that class. And I tried to make a conversation with him. I tried to ask him, you know, when you drop out of school, what do you do now? Obviously what he did. But then I was just making small talks. But then he was not looking at me back, you know. There are people, when you talk to them, they're like not that they have a mental disability, but this is something that you feel so damaged and broken and you don't feel that you're equal. Now that's the biggest problem. The biggest challenge in education is to change that mindset, to change that self-confidence in him. And I thought, gosh, my heart crashed. Like this boy, I tried to talk to you, but you're not talking back like a normal human being. Okay, so fast forward 3 months down the road, I was talking to a group of 2,000 young people in the entrepreneurship training class. So this class was sponsored by Microsoft. And we're training young people, SMK, like a vocational school, entrepreneurship, and then at the end of the day to give them seed capital to start business. If you don't, okay, education is great, right? But then education is not everything. After you being educated, what are you gonna do? At least if you wanna work, you work with someone, become an employee, or if you don't wanna work or you can't find jobs, then you do something, you sell something. This is entrepreneurship, so it's important. Entrepreneurship is as important as employment. So we give them this kind of training, and then I found Moontaka was one of the participants. And I was telling the audience about his story, and he was like waving his hand, and I thought, you know, 2,000 people, you know, the crowd, 2,000 people, you don't actually see who that is. But then he was there, and he was waving, and I said, like, oh gosh, you're Moontaka. So I was like, hey, and then he was, I had like a Q&A, like a few seconds of Q&A, and I could see change in his attitude, in his behavior. He was responding like a human being. He looked me in the eye. He spoke in front of 2,000 people. Can you imagine that? That was just 3-4 months down the road. And that is kind of change that makes me still, you know, goosebumps every time I see that. But that's addicting. When you see change, you see transformation, you see hope. And that's what is important. So that's Moontaka. So he graduated as the best student of our rumah belajar. But then at that point of time, we were approached by Astra Honda. And then they said, like, you know what? We're going to give you 5 free spots, and you can send top classes, top students in the classes to go to study further with Astra. So he did. And then in Astra, he also graduated top of his class. Can you imagine that? Did you actually ever imagine that a pemulung can actually beat 200 other people who pay Astra, like, I don't know, 10 million, 15 million to get in? Because this is highly competitive. Honda, if anybody knows this Honda training, it's very competitive. They only open 2 classes a year, 50 max per class, 100 a year. And they pay for this. And we get 5 free spots. So Moontaka was one of the students, and then he graduated top of his class. And then to his surprise, to our surprise too, Astra gave him a prize money, 5 million. He never saw 5 million in his life, you know, and he said like, oh wow, I can do so much, I'm rich, you know. And he's thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? Oh, I wanna go to school. Imagine that. He's investing all his 5 million into his education. It just makes me cry, isn't it? And he said like, but I come short. The tuition is 11 million. So somebody have to top up 6 million. By then, he was already working, graduating and working in one of the Honda store as a mechanic. So I guess the boss and us, we top it up, and then he's now on the way in college. And we asked him again, what do you want to be? I want to be the owner of Honda shop. I want to be an entrepreneur. And that is something that I want to say all the time. From someone that you think it's nothing, you don't even think that they have future. But they're given the opportunity, now they have hope. Not only hope, they become ambitious. That I like. Ambitious is huge because that is the driving force that makes them want to change. You are the facilitator of change. You cannot make that change. They have to make that change for themselves, right? We tried 18 years in YCAB. We can only be facilitator of change. We can never move people if they don't want to be moved. We cannot make them change if they do not want to change. So hope, opportunity, hope, ambition. That's the whole transformation of somebody like Moontaka. We have, because this is a gender equality, you know, society, right? So we have another story, which is Kristanti. Kristanti was a babysitter, pembantu rumah tangga, domestic helper. She dropped out of school at SMP level, middle school, and then he asked permission from her boss, right, to go to Rumah Belajar, which is just next door to where she worked. And then, you know, mothers here, ibu-ibu rumah tangga, you know, if your pembantu or babysitter drop out of school, would you want to send them back to school at the risk of losing them? That's a risk. But then her boss let her go. And then she continued to in Rumah Belajar, Paket C, which is equivalent to high school. Then by the time she graduated, we launched a program with Samsung on electronic, repair. So she did. She was the only girl. Can you imagine electronic repair? Who does that, right? So she's the only girl, but she graduated top of her class. Top 20, who was actually recruited by Samsung. Now she works at Samsung. It's an amazing story. Pemulung, now mechanic, and aspire to be an entrepreneur, owning a Honda. No association with Astra, not bad, you know. And Kristanti, domestic helper, nanny, / now technician at Samsung. So what is it? Those two stories that I think I'm gonna leave it with you and challenge yourself, ask yourself, you can embrace difficulties in this world by creating change, but ask the right questions. As they scale, as they grow, ask the right question at every corner. And this is what you are called to do. For me, the most frequently asked question is, why do you do the things you do? Why did you want to do it? For me, I said it in the beginning, God loved me, I love the world. Yeah, sounds great. But what is it that really tickles me? For me, at that point of time, I was a young mother of 2 and 4 years old. Now they're in college. I was asking the very question of meaning and purpose of life. All worldview are faced with 4 big questions. Number 1, where do I come from? That's a question of origin, question of existential. Number 2, by how, my life operates. That is a morality framework. Number 3, meaning and purpose. Number 4, destiny. Where do I go? Every worldview, I'm not talking about Christianity, I'm not talking about just Islam, I'm not talking about particular worldview. This is all worldview for or magic big questions. So I was a bit struggled with the meaning and purpose, so there YCAB was born. The question was, how do you want to be remembered? What is the kind of legacy you want to leave behind? If you see a problem, you see that you have the ability to change, do something about it, invest your heart in it, and you can create a meaningful change, not only for that people, not only for Moontaka, not only for Kristanti, but for yourself as well, as you will answer to God one day, and God will welcome you home. Good and humble servant, come and share my glory. Thank you.